Welcome to the Grand Blanc Watchdogs podcast. I'm your co-host, Lonnie Adkins.
And I'm Monica Shapiro, former candidate for Grand Blanc Township supervisor.
Okay, so let's talk Grand Blanc. Last time we said that this episode would be kind of about how our local government. So let's say like it's a little report card. So how is our local government functioning?
The first move the administration made the day after the election was to go in and tell our longtime deputy treasurer that she was fired, that she was done.
In meetings where they were discussing the fact that she wanted to retire, they said she'd agreed to stay on until May to train whoever they did hire. And Mr. Limatta said, we understand that whoever we hire may require training. We want somebody with the best aptitude for this technical job. It doesn't necessarily have to be someone with experience. So, but this lady has agreed to stay on. So we're in good shape. But just as soon as the ink was dry on the ballots, they fired her. Our brilliant businessman decided that we should get rid of yet another experienced old hand.
That job went, this is an example of their hiring practices. 26 people applied for that job. They interviewed 2. One was an inside person who they had to, and the other was the person who got the job. No experience in that.
Finance. She was a nursing student.
She was
coincidentally the best friend of Mr. Limatta's daughter, who runs Parks and Rec, and then the daughter of our deputy clerk, Lynn Henry, who's kind of in the crowd of the Limatta administration. So in the months since the election, since we fired her,
we've had, multiple trainings, $5,000 here, $5,000 there, messing around with new kinds of software, $10,000, $30,000, $20,000, a whole bunch of different programs that they then have to have trainers to teach. A bunch of money on this stuff, ridiculous, wasting money, and we're left. We got rid of an experienced person who cared about the township, who had agreed to stay on to train this new person. This is what they do. They hire their people and they get rid of experienced people and they flounder around and pay for training and pay for consultants and keep giving Dennis responsibility to sign and sign and sign so that basically everything's in his hands.
We have in our township a structure where we have the superintendent, who is hired an at-will employee hired by the board to assist with day-to-day operations of the township. That's Mr. Limatta. He is the superintendent. Our supervisor very much supports this guy and thinks that he's a great businessman and that he's done wonderful things for the bottom line of our township. That's something Lonnie and I will be debating many, many times over the course of our podcast. But at any rate, the hiring practices, when I say that's what they do, it's what Mr. Limatta does. So number one, as a businessman, he's not very good at managing personnel. And this is an example of it. They nepotistically hire people in and get rid of experienced people and create and foster an atmosphere of competition and secrecy. And the actual employees of the township were told in no uncertain terms, do not bother the board with any complaints you have. So the board really has no way of evaluating how he's doing as a personnel manager. Most of the time, most of the things you hear about in our township, the person they'll refer you back to is Mr. Limatta, not Mr. Bennett. He doesn't really always understand all the ins and outs that Dennis understands. So they constantly defer to Dennis. Mr. Limatta will tell us why we're doing this. Mr. Limatta will tell us what's going on with this. Mr. Limatta will tell us what the fees are.
The problem is that
and so
by accident or by design, whatever you want to call it, we have given full control to a non-elected person.
Yes.
That's just what it is. And
he's the designer, he's the architect,
and that's it.
He has full purchasing power always.
Dennis says he has a uncanny talent to run this place like a business. Well, the CEO of Grand Blanc Township.
Yeah, but it's not a business, right? I mean, and we don't need a CEO. We have a supervisor that we elect and a board of trustees, including a treasurer and a clerk, who we also elect. And ideally, they set policy for the public good. And it's those people and their policies that the superintendent is charged with execute.
Well, it's an autocratic form of government we have in the township. It's really Scott and Dennis. That's it.
Yes.
The other board members sit in the seats just so that the community feels as though they have representation.
Look what happened to the last board that did stand up. Back in 2019, it realized that they'd been kind of following blindly along with Dennis, and they rose up. They realized the mistakes. They realized that separating from the city was a mistake, and they'd been led to it by Dennis and his ideas, which were based on not being able to get along. Being a poor negotiator. We suffered because of that. And that board woke up to it and realized he needed to go and fired him. And we know what happened. Scott ran unopposed and got a hold of the narrative and said we were losing a great man with a great vision. And it didn't seem to register with the public that 5-2 on our board of people who we elected to represent us seemed to feel that this man was a problem and decided to fire him. And Joel Fike even ran on the premise of, we're paying this man 6 figures. We need to stand back and we need to stop second guessing him, stand back and let him do his job. He's amazingly qualified. He's got doctorates in city planning. He comes to us from, we're paying him a lot of money. So he deserves to be left alone to do whatever he wants.
Nice. Yeah, so as long as you're making 6 figures, just get out of your way, let you do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Boy, that doesn't happen in the real world.
Well, it happens in Grand Blanc Township, and it's a shame. So when you go to the township with a concern, their response is, how can we say no? How can we get rid of these people? We have a business to run here. We can't be bothered with residents' concerns.
What this crew is best at is passing the buck, like the lady that wanted the stop sign next to the bus stop in Williamsburg Farms, who they sent off to the road commission, said it's not our business, go off to the road commission, and was told that it wasn't enough children waiting at the bus stop. If 100 children were in danger, then they might get a stop sign. But for the 4 or 5 that she was talking about, it wasn't worth their time.
Well, let's think about this for a minute. So you were talking about one of the first things they did, okay? And then shortly after that, somewhere in there, I know they all gave themselves a very substantial increase in wages.
Yes.
Very substantial.
And cut down the number of meetings.
Yes, and reduce the number of meetings.
And
so
since
it's very...
they're always in consensus and they always vote yes, the meetings are very quick.
Well,
they barely have to invest an hour every 2 weeks, and they get $17,000 or whatever they get.
Right. So they increased their salary 300 or 400 or 500%. Cut down the amount of meetings, and then they changed the time of the meeting. So by design, they have set up City Hall, even though they say, hey, if you have an issue, come into the township building or come to a meeting.
Actually, after the election, because I had been talking about it a little bit, that the township should be an accessible place where residents want to come. It's the smallest unit of government. They should be able to approve things with independence and dispatch.
People
and they
hate
don't.
Going into that building. Well,
no, because all they do is your hands are always tied by this or that.
So they reduced the amount of meetings, and then they made the meetings they made the meetings even earlier. So people that work outside the community, which is a good portion of the community,
have to miss the dinner hour.
They can't even get back up here in time for the meeting. So they're creating an environment where they really don't want you there. They don't want you to come. They want to do the bare bones minimum to satisfy the legal requirement to meet in public.
Yes, to meet in public.
And to have the least amount of meetings with the highest amount of pay they could get. All right, so there's one check mark again.
Where are they being public servants? I guess, according to the message from our supervisor, it was the community cleanup. You could volunteer pick up trash in our beloved community. My very sensible friend tells me that that's been shown to do good things in communities wherever they do it. So good on them that they did that. But and here's
I would rather see us work with the jail and get probationers to come and do roadside cleanup than our elected leaders out there every weekend or once a month. I would rather them sit their butt in their chair and actually
advocate for the township,
done, do the job, put in the time, put in the hours, and get some of these things done. Pay attention to the residents, give them things they want. That
makes sense.
It's just no. But look at me, I picked up some trash on 75 and planted a flower. So you've been to a lot of meetings, Monica, and you've watched a lot of them.
No, you have to remember, a lot of what I've done is watch them over and over on the township's website.
So now that we're saying how is our government locally functioning, does it seem like a warm, welcoming environment?
No, it's a terrible environment. And that's what happened. I stopped going. It's as if they have a policy not to make eye contact with the people who are speaking. It's not, that should not be it. They shouldn't be, oh, don't look up. You'll encourage her. You'll encourage this crazy woman who wants you to consider a park in the center of our two communities. Oh, don't look at her. Don't look at her in the eye because she'll.
That means they have something to hide if they won't look you in the eye.
I guess. I don't think of them as having something to hide because they do so much of what they do right there out in the open. They have a way of couching it in appropriate phrases that make you feel okay about this awful stuff they're really doing to the township. The thing that gets me is it's a local form of government. It's a small. I mean, okay, we have 40,000 people, but that's small compared to all the unwieldy stuff that the feds have to deal with. We have our town, and we're getting $57 million worth of road funding in, and we got to, take advantage of it, do it correctly for our master plan and what our master plan called for. Listen to our residents who have real feelings about what they want this community to be, especially since the tax base that's going up is going up on the backs of commercial property owners and residents. That is how it's going up. Our tax assessments go up, so there's more in the general fund. These factories in Enterprise Park are coming in at 50% tax rate, and there's only 3 of them, I think, and they are so proud of it. And thank God the plastics factory pulled out. It's not a vision, it's some kind of business plan that they have. And meanwhile, we're left, people are leaving Grand Blanc.
And the independent restaurants and the stores and the things that we say we'd like Grand Blanc to attract are all going to Fenton. Those businesses don't see Grand Blanc Township as a place where they'll thrive. Commercial property is being auctioned off for back taxes.
Off Fenton Road, there's these subdivisions, these single street sort of neighborhoods, or sometimes a U street. And I don't know what they're called, but they have the terrible misfortune of the cul-de-sac at the end of each of these very nice, very lovely neighborhoods is right up against I-475. I didn't really get it until I was out there going door to door, and I realized that my stress level was going up. I was feeling like more and more anxious, and it was because I was in this extraordinarily loud subdivision cul-de-sac. And so I knocked on the door, and somebody said something about it, this noise. And I said, I never have known that this was back here, that this was this bad. And they told how they could never open their windows. There was drag racing on 475, all this terrible, terrible noise. And it was really outstandingly awful. It kind of scrolled back in my head, and I thought, well,
I participated in a PEL study that went on for over a year where you had to keep going to meetings. PEL stands for Preliminary Environmental Linkages. And at the time, they were talking about the upcoming $450 million reconstruct on I-475. Throughout the process, MDOT said, we're all about compensating neighborhoods that were torn apart when these highways were went through the middle of neighborhoods and harmed neighborhoods. And, this sound problem is certainly a harm that 475 does.
People from this neighborhood, at least one, came and said, we have this terrible noise problem. We would really like a noise abatement wall.
And pretty much told you've got to take that up with your local road commission and with your township government. Another gentleman
Came to the door and he said, Mr. Robertson came here and I told him about our noise abatement problems. And he said, oh, forget it. You'll never get that.
Somehow in this community, we've been taught that we have to be satisfied with that kind of response from our elected officials. How about,
We'll try. That's a good idea. I see the need. Let me see what I can do.
so I did go and do some digging into how you do get one of these noise abatement walls.
You get them. How do you qualify for them? You have to have an official noise metering thing done. There's some hoops you have to jump through for sure.
But that would require a representative from our local government to
push
actually
for it,
push
to go for it, to
just
get
like
that.
the roads or the funding. So back to our local government. Don't you think a good board, as opposed to showing up and telling them in the very unwelcoming environment that they've set up? I see they've even raised the chairs, so you kind of have to sit even lower.
Yeah.
Like you're in a courtroom.
Supplicants.
But instead of showing up and pleading your case in this very unwelcomed environment, shouldn't the board, we're not that big of a community. Shouldn't the board kind of have their finger on the pulse of the community and kind of already know certain areas of what the needs and wants are?
The needs are. And they base so much of their decision on if one community asks for this, everybody's going to want this. Oh no, what if?
But there are unique circumstances, and different areas were built differently. And different areas need different things.
The budgets and costs for these things vary. Sometimes what people want is like $2,500. Put a stop sign in. That's what they want. So that one, the expensive ones you throw money at from the general fund, and the little ones, you're still satisfying people's needs.
So what are they doing for us? They don't fight for road funding.
It's not up to them to really fight for road funding. They just don't fight to utilize it in a way that benefits the community.
No, well, I think there's two parts to that. I would say what's the benefit of being the largest tax base in the county if you can't flex that muscle?
Yes, flex.
And go to the county and say, this road funding share is pathetic. It's been like this for a long time. We're the big dogs in the county. Maybe you got to take them to court. Maybe you got to tear it up and whatever. They should be fighting. There are representatives at a local level.
And
I don't know anybody at the county. The residents
board
don't.
Members could take on different things. Sarah Hugo got her subdivision paved. She knows what the process is. She could be the board member that's in charge of helping subdivisions do this.
Yeah, but she got hers done, so she's done. She's happy.
I don't understand that. I think that if that's an interest, because I'm doing mine right now, and I learned a whole lot about the procedure. I see what it was in the past. But we've tried to do it. I think we're going to get it. Our neighboring subdivision got theirs, and theirs was much higher than ours. So maybe it'll happen. But I understand the procedure.
I still think we should fight with Genesee County for road
used
funding. It's not enough. Why be the big dogs of the county if you can't negotiate more funding?
Right. Well, but they scraped up $500,000 and called it good. Said, look, they have $500,000. And they're saying to all 17 townships that they work with, here, go at it. The first come, first serve for 10% of your project cost. So my neighborhood's project cost is $5 million. So I would have eaten it up in one. So it's ridiculous. 17, it's not enough.
The amount of money we send to the county, that's not enough. But what I'm saying, though, is, I'm not trying to put Genesee County on trial, but what I'm saying is, how do I look at our elected leaders and what are we getting out of them? I never
they
hear.
Aren't fighting for it.
I never hear at a meeting, we're fighting for funding. So they say they have a bunch of money, but they won't do anything in the master plan unless it's a grant or a millage.
Yes, that is true. And they keep Okay, and they keep doing it very expensively.
Okay, so we've kind of talked about how, what is a government that's not delivering to the citizens, or a failing, or a lack of transparency. So in a perfect community, perfect world, what does that good governing body look like, Monica?
I would say, number one, there are no egos involved. As much as a human being can shed that and just think, listen to people, listen to your neighbors, because anyone that's interested in government hears from their neighbors all the time. I wish Grand Blanc was like this. I'd like to see that. And sometimes you get wind of some very intelligent people with good ideas, and you educate yourself by talking to people in the community, and then you go to the township and you try to figure out how you can help people, how you can do what they've suggested. You're about serving your people. They are public servants. And as far as the money goes, there's enough money to do a lot of great things for a community like ours that don't even involve going into debt. And it's a lot of misspending of resources. You want to see your people. You said something last time, start small and do what you can with what you have. And it's a great idea. It's a great way to go, because we do have a lot here. And people should be able to go to their government and say, I'm having this problem. And they say, talk to so-and-so on the board. She's good about that. I will talk to the county for you.
So knocking down roadblocks.
Yes, taking away roadblocks.
And getting along with your neighboring community.
And wanting to hear, I think, from all accounts, Scott Bennett is a charming man, and people enjoy talking to him about the township, I guess. But he says no. He likes to say why we can't. Because
it's safe when you're an elected.
And the government should be all about, hey, we have a flush general fund. What can we do?
Because they're taking the approach that when you're elected, it's safer to just do nothing.
Except these major projects that feed your ego.
Right.
And not be able to negotiate with this pleasant city in our midst.
Okay, thank you for tuning in to Grand Blanc Watchdogs podcast. Please stay involved, stay informed, and we will bring the big issues to you and break them down.